Okay, so my talk is on my new plugin called Shadow. The reason I chose the name is you're basically shadowing your ActiveRecord object. And what you're trying to keep track of is just changes, not necessarily the copies of each version of your record, but rather just what changed in a new, like every time you save an object, which attributes changed or which associations changed, instead of like actually copying the changes themselves. So you can use it in tandem with like active version. Then you have a set of changes, and then you also have just exactly what changed on that version. So you don't have to do any extra calculations. Probably should have started with that, but you guys don't know. You can find the source code at GitHub /degrees. So I put together a demo application here. So I'll just jump right into it. The first thing you want to do is actually define, well, you'll install the plugin, obviously. And then you want to define which associations and attributes about a given model you want to shadow. So in this case, we're only shadowing journal entries for the vacation model. And for each journal entry, we want to attach a user. So what that means is we have an auditing trail of who added journal entries to this vacation. And the result or the goal of this project is basically something along the lines of an activity feed like that. Like that. So you actually see who did what. So somebody was tagged in an album, somebody commented on somebody else's photo, etc. So that's the end goal. Oh, do you not have Rails 2 on? Okay, cool, find the follow. We'll skip past this in the video. Yes. I think it's my turn anyway. So while that's working, like there's other ways to do this. You can go about it from kind of like a controller perspective, where you're actually saying, okay, we have a user object, and it's obviously interacting with my controller code because I have, my requirement is that a user is logged in or whatever. So you can do it that way, where for any action in a controller, you're programmatically attaching a user to an object. But the problem I have with that kind of auditing trail is that, let's say you're in the console, like, and you're operating on an object. So let's say you're in there and you're not in the same environment as you would be on the web. Like you're not actually in a controller, but you're like, let's say you have some automated script that operates on vacation objects. You don't want to actually repeat the code over and over again for setting up auditing trails. So basically, the code is just tucked away, so you don't have to think about it. All you have to do is wherever you want an auditing trail, you just set a user like that. So in this case, I didn't take the time to set up like a login or whatever, but here you just have current user, I guess. So whenever I save a vacation, because I set it up that it's being shadowed, then every time it saves, it audits who the user was. So when you add a journal entry to it or whatever, then it associates that with the user. Anybody have any ideas why why this might not work. Yeah. Okay. Actually, you might. Oh wait. Gem version. Oh, it probably didn't update. You probably have an old gem version. Do you mind if I update your gem? Just for. There we go. It's all up to date now. Yeah. Okay, so I kind of froze my SQLite DB for the sake of this presentation. So I have a vacation and a journal entry resource, and so basically here's the entire goal of this project is you have basically vacations which has many journal entries. That's simple in this case, but if I were to add a journal entry, then basically this is independent of just the association information. This is a separate record in the database. So then, let's say you had users that wanted to hide this particular activity item. It wouldn't affect the association relationship between the objects. It's just it's kind of shadowing the association itself. So, and you get links to there. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's a very specific use case, but if you want to have activity feeds in your application, it's as easy as dropping a single line into a model. So the way you interact with setting an attachment. So I'll just go back to actually let me start at the migration. So basically, for a vacation, I want to create the shadow tables, and I just require one attachment, which is the user, so I can associate that with whoever's operating on vacation attributes and associations. And obviously, like I said, you just set it here. And then to access the actual updates that you're storing, I have a little hack here. I'm going to come up with some better methods on the model you're actually shadowing. But for now, it's attribute updates and association updates. And then I just grab all those, set the 2 queries, and I sort by created at. Obviously, this can be more efficient, but just for the sake of this, to show you that you can get attribute updates for every version that you've ever saved a vacation, and then association updates too. So you have a track record of exactly who added a photo, let's say, to a vacation, who added a, whatever. You can program for the message, I just have a simple case for vacation attribute shadows and association shadows. I display a message. So the way it works is an update for an attribute has which attributes were updated on this model. And then I just make that into a nice little sentence. So if I go back to my vacation itself and I actually edit this, and I say part 1, and I updated, then I see Jordan Fowler edited vacation name. So it's as simple as creating the sentence you want and using the data you're storing. And then for associations, you get a little bit more. You get the action, right? So whether it was added or deleted from that collection. And then you get which association it was operating on and the actual record itself. So if I add a photo, then update.record is actually the photo that was added to the collection. And that's pretty much it. Pretty easy, simple. You can do this kind of functionality. You guys have any questions? Yeah. Complements it, yeah. Yeah, I use both for the project Patrick and I are working on, the treasures of the new site. We needed wiki type functionality for the bodies of theaters, right? So we popped. We head over to the theater, do the Geekman. So for this body text, there could be any number of people editing this, and we want wiki type functionality, so it's contributed by Ross. So we want a version history of every time this is edited. But then we also have all these other attributes. The status, the function of the theater, the architect, the firm, all these other things. So we want to know exactly who's changing these attributes and also what changed. You see what I'm saying? So the versioning system only gives you, a carbon copy of that object, the state at that time, right? And then it just stays it. I'm actually telling you what changed in that version. No. Right. You're keeping track of the version number on each shadow record, but you're not storing any data. It's meta, it's like the name and the description change. That's all it's saying. Yeah, there's two separate complementing pieces. But it's the missing piece if you want to create an activity feed or an audit trail of information. Because just having the changes themselves, you have to do extra calculations on, you'd have to pull all the records and be like, the difference between version 1 and 2 is this, right? So you'd have to pull those. But in my case, it's more efficient because you're storing for each version, so you can say, oh, version 2 changed these two fields, right? And if nothing changed, or if the attribute that you're looking for didn't change, then you just go on to the next record or whatever you want to do. So it's just, complementing keys to a versioning system. Yeah. Yes. That's actually what this is doing right here. So this is without a versioning system. It's just showing you the life cycle of this vacation object. Yeah. So basically you're saying, for this version, if the name changed, could you pull the previous version name and the current version name? Yeah. Yeah, I do have those. Today was the first time I touched the code in so for a given association, so I store a record version for each one, right? So if it's an association, I store which version that association object was when it was saved. Or actually, yeah. So, I'm in code land right now. So the answer is yes. Because I can't show you the new site. I didn't declare it with MasterKit. But what we have is like, if I change the status from, let's say it was open and now it's closed or demolished, it would actually show you the status changed from open to changed to demolished. So you're keeping track of both those versions. Yeah. I built it kind of specifically for active versions, but I think a lot of other versioning libraries out there use the same conventions for naming, like use the version column, for instance. And you can set that on both mine and active versions, so it's pretty flexible. But I kind of started with just focusing on it working with active versions. So yeah, any other questions?
That concludes this episode of the SD.RB podcast. See you next time.